Welcome guys, back again with another retro restoration video. This time we have the PAL Super Nintendo, and what a mess we have here, absolutely grogging. We've got all sorts of age stains going on here. Story on how I got my hands on this, well, I've had it for many years and I can't really track down precisely on how I got it. Well, I know it was definitely in terrible condition back then, and unfortunately we have never even got it to work. It doesn't even turn on. Well, I thought one day I would need parts of this or something down the line, so it's been in the shed for many years. So very excited now to get into this restoration video and perhaps even get it up and running again. Before I do, show us your retro restoration support by hitting me with a like and subby, be much appreciated. So the few items that I'm using is this general clean spray, some air in a can, some isopropyl alcohol and some retrobright. Now this is my retro restoration booth, and if you'd like to know information about how to make that, I'll put a link in the description box about how I did that for my white Sega Saturn. So just checking all the little switches and cartridge slot, it doesn't seem to stick, but we need to open this up to give it a good clean. It does have its own dedicated type of screwdriver, just like a typical Nintendo console. That will be in the description box below if you need to purchase one of them. Doesn't take too long to do this, just the 6 screws, and at the back you can see there is a sticker that is disputed from a UK company. Might have been an independent retro gaming store back in the day. Now we got this open, again have a good look. But we do need to get all these clips and screws out. This is quite fiddly, so you need to make sure that you got plenty of time and a bit of patience to do so. A lot of them are pretty easy to get out if you haven't done this before. And you see all these clips at the bottom, but you need to work from the top and around just to get all these clips out. I did use a flat-headed screwdriver just to help poke these out and make sure you don't want to lose any of these things. And now we got the lid open and you can really see that original color that this console was next to all those age stains. So I'm just going to get all these little switches out so we can clean them individually. And look at the color on that. Now we need to remove the main board itself to access the whole casing. There's a bunch of screws around here. I did use a standard Phillips screwdriver, very simple to get your hands on, which is a nice touch. Now be careful with this cartridge bay because there's a little spring and there's all these little things you make sure you don't want to lose, because we need to put this back together at the end. Now let's remove this controller bay. This is pretty simple, but be careful with that ribbon cable. How can we just poke these little clips out with a flat-headed screwdriver so we can give this front cover a good clean as well. Now with all the screws removed and everything, we can now remove that board and have a good look inside. You can see condition is not good. We got a nasty crack at the bottom there. We got a couple of little screw holders as well we want to remove. Now we can remove the shielding, which is pretty simple to give a good clean, and at the base of the motherboard you can always tell they're in good condition because nothing really touches them, so I won't really bother about cleaning that side of the board. And we got some screws at the base here we need to remove as well. Now they are out. There's one little tiny screw on the side to get rid of that shielding. That was a bit of a pain, probably the worst screw to get out. So we can get some air cleaner now just to get rid of that dust. And this is the cartridge slot that does poke out after you remove the screws, so you can now always give that a good clean. Now I tend to put all the screws in some little alcohol to give those a good clean just overnight. Now let's get to the controller. Very simple to do. We just got these typical Phillips screwdrivers, very tiny ones, and there's just 5 of them. Now let's move on to the controller. Just 5 Phillips screwdrivers, really small ones, pretty simple to remove. I'll just be a little bit careful removing this casing because I find the buttons like to fly all over the place. So the board itself is in very good condition, no worries about cleaning that. But one thing is these triggers, those left and rights, they do hold this little metal bar. Now that is a bit of a pain if you lose that. Now we're onto the isopropyl alcohol, which is great for boards cleaning because it just evaporates quickly. So stock yourself up with plenty of earbuds. You can always use a toothbrush as well to get in those nooks and crannies. We want to be careful around those capacitors. You don't want to be too aggressive because you don't want to snap anything off. So it's more precise with earbuds. Just a little wipe there, you can see already this board is filthy. So take your time. This did take me probably the longest part of this cleaning process. I'm pretty happy with that. Now let's move on to cleaning the whole console shell. I just tend to use a massive bucket and soak it all in some hot soapy water so it cleans all those nooks and crannies. Now this is what it looks like now, giving it a good scrubbing with a sponge and a toothbrush. I also use some isopropyl alcohol to get rid of some of those hardest remove stains. It's not the best condition, but it's definitely a lot better already, and a clean platform to work on when applying our retrobright. So I just give it a good layering all around the console to give it a nice even spread. I find it's best to use a little toothbrush as well. With the bottom end of this console, you can see it's in the worst condition. That staining is really hard, so I'm going to give it a good layering and make sure this gel gets everywhere. And give it a nice tight seal with some cling film so it's airtight and holds in that heat. One thing I should have done is to make sure I wore some gloves. It just seemed like to stain your fingers and give it a little bit of a burning sensation, and this could affect people even worse. So wear some gloves. Now this is my retro restoration booth that I've built. Again, I did mention that if you want to make one of these, I did describe it more in my Sega Saturn video. If you want to check out that one to get more understanding how to build your own, I recommend doing that. Link is in the description box below. Now with the SNES, I did take about 2 days. I just rinse and repeat. So I took all the cling film off and then I applied the retrobright again. So I did that for 2 days and this is the results. After washing it down for the 3rd time, I was pretty happy with it. The inside of the bottom half still needs some work, as you can visually see. I did concentrate on the bottom visible side, so that's something I should have done. Perhaps even another day in the box would have been recommended due to how bad this was in the first place. There is a further better way using a liquid method where you submerge the entire contents into this liquid, but more equipment is needed and you are raising up that budget. A further quicker process time, you could include even further UV light strips or even cut a hole on the top and apply a UV lamp, but that is further on the budget and more electric is used. Let's now finish it off by putting it all back together again to really understand how well the retrobright has really done. Well, it's definitely so much better than it was, but there's more work that is needed at that bottom end. I'm not really sure, but there's also these little marks on the top removable panel. Perhaps some effect from the chemicals. I should have not really worried about applying any retrobright in the first place. I did have an accident as well at the back of this case, as that did snap off, as with these age-stained consoles the plastic is more frail, and applying these to remove off these stains does actually recover some of the strength of the plastic. For me personally, there is definitely a unique satisfaction when I restoring these consoles and bringing them back, but unfortunately with this Super Nintendo it still doesn't work. Chipboard maintenance and soldering skills is just beyond my compatibility, but it still looks really nice now anyway. Well, thanks for watching, and as always, if you liked it, hit that button. If you want to help and support, click subscribe, leave your comments below, and I catch you lot on my next video.